Do we have any Zoom guests today?
Asia hopes to join by Zoom, so for a few minutes we'll.
So yeah, first order of business, let's get the April meeting minutes out of the way. If someone wants to make a motion, as long as everyone's taking a look and is comfortable.
Should have had it on your email. If not, I can always email them again.
Motion to approve the April minutes.
I gotta second that.
Second, all in favor?
May, sorry. May minutes.
No.
Yes, yeah, May.
Years going by fast. Yeah, all right. All right, May meeting minutes, can we get those in?
Motion to approve the May minutes.
Second, all in favor? Any opposed? Good to go.
Great.
Alrighty.
Well, we are lucky enough to have one of our agencies join us. Carmen, I'll have you kind of talk about what Green Place is doing, not even just with what we've provided you in funding, but what we're really interested in is learning about, are there any new things that you're seeing people experiencing? Are there, wish list things that in the back of your head you're like, oh, we're seeing lots of people needing this, that, and the other. Really just your experience with who's coming for services or who isn't coming for services. Okay. So if you wanna give.
So my name is Carmen Carrasquillo. I'm the Chief Program Officer for the Community Place of Greater Rochester, as well as Charles Settlement House. CPGR has a history going back over 100 years, and it is it was born out of the merger of 3 settlement houses, so Lewis Street, Genesee, and Eastside Community Center. About 5 years ago, we formed a legal affiliation, not a merger, but a legal affiliation with Charles Settlement House. So we share. This one. We share admin, HR, and other services, as well as myself and our CEO. We have locations mostly on the northeast side of the city, and we provide comprehensive services across 5 departments. That would be early childhood and youth, aging services, intellectual and developmental disabilities, emergency and family services, and substance abuse prevention services. So we serve from the very young to the very old. And most of those departments are mirrored over at Charles Settlement, but they're located on the northwest side. Last year, we did receive funding through the Rochester Housing Stability Fund. The purpose of those funds was to be able to assist individuals with arrears, first month rent, security deposit, utility assistance. So it was a eviction prevention. We wanted to ensure that individuals remain stable in their homes. In addition to the assistance that we provided, we also provided case management as well as follow-up services as necessary to ensure that those individuals remained housed even after they received the assistance. We did partner with Charles. We don't always partner on everything, but we did do it for this specific grant because we wanted to dedicate more staff to the project, but also we wanted to ensure that we covered just a broader section of the city. I mean, it was a city grant, but we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just mostly individuals on the northeast side. And it allowed individuals on the northwest side to not have to travel across town just to get rental assistance. So we had 2 offices on either side of the city. Some of the trends that we are seeing, so we are in need of more financial assistance programs, specifically those that can also address issues beyond rent. For example, programs that could provide case management, assist people with finding employment, assist people with applying for benefits, helping people with budgeting, with mediation. We just had some of our staff go through CCSI training in mediation. This would include assistance with arrears because it would allow families to remain housed and prevent eviction. You know, sometimes the individuals that walk through our door, they may be asking for rent, but there could be other issues in the household. And so we want to make sure that we are treating the whole person and not just bits and pieces. Some of the feedback that we've received from many of our program participants is that individuals have remained housed after receiving assistance. Many have applied for public benefits. Some of them weren't aware that they met the requirements for benefits, as well as some of them did find and maintain employment. One of the other issues, well, I don't know if it's an issue, but with the application for public benefits, we find that a lot of the people that we served just had, they didn't read well, or the reading comprehension. Just the paperwork, the documentation, some of those things were difficult to navigate. And even some of the paperwork that we did for them, you know, you have to read things twice, make sure that everything is in there correctly. So, you know, if we're having trouble with it, if our staff are having trouble with some of that documentation, imagine what, you know, these individuals are going through. The highest need zip codes. And I do keep, I collect a lot of data and we keep it. So 61% of the individuals that we served came from the following zip codes, from highest to lowest: 14609, 14621, 14608, 14605, and 14611.
It's interesting that 14609 was the highest.
Yeah.
That's not normally the trend. So that's an interesting one.
We had the majority, so far, because we're not done with the program, but 15% came from 14609.
It may also be though, because you're located
It
on
could be,
those, right?
yes.
So right in 14609.
Yes.
So
That makes more
Right.
sense, yes.
The second one was 14621.
That's more the trend, actually. Can you just say what was the third?
14608.
Yeah, that makes sense.
14608, and then 05, and then 11.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm surprised of that 05 being,
So low.
yeah, so
Yeah.
low,
Mhm.
typically it's kind of up there as well.
Yeah.
It's proximity effect, probably.
Yes, absolutely.
From the data that we've collected so far, from the individuals that we've served, the average monthly income is $2,079. And 66% of those households have children.
So that's per month.
Per month.
Okay.
It's the average monthly income.
For the individual that you're serving or the household?
For the household. For the household, and 66% of those households have children.
Yes.
I put a note in here that we need more voucher type programs. So right now, we are also involved in, Flips is doing a navigator program, housing navigator program, and we are part of, there are 4 agencies, both Charles and Community Place are part of that. And while there are some, it's easier to get individuals who have vouchers, housing, of course. But there is a lack of affordable housing. If you think about, the average monthly income being $2,079, if you think about large families that need 2-3 bedrooms, that just $2,000 a month, is not gonna cut it. So lack of affordable housing, especially for larger families, and families with children, which would be another reason for more voucher programs, as well as individuals with disabilities. And I know that there is affordable housing, however, affordable can be relative. What may be affordable to one person may not be affordable to another. There are also issues of long wait times. This week, we had an individual, a gentleman with, that uses a walker, who receives $440 a month from DHS. And we were calling around, because we're trying to navigate him into housing, he's homeless. He's at Grace House right now. And, we found a studio for him, which was $841 a month.
Yeah, that math doesn't work.
And then, just, landlord incentive programs, I know that there are some landlord incentive programs. As part of the Housing Navigator program that we're involved in right now with Flips, I believe Ibero has a list of landlords. That list isn't very long. But I'm not sure how many private landlords are on that list. So by private, I mean like maybe someone that owns 1 or 2 homes that they could rent. And just in some of the conversations, because one of the things that we're trying to do is go back and make a list of landlords that we worked with in the past to see if they have available housing with no violations. And what we're finding is that many of the landlords may not be willing to make repairs or rent to individuals because there are safety, health and safety violations. So they don't wanna spend the money up front to be able to rent those homes, or at least rent them to individuals that are in DHS. Because DHS will not pay rent in a vertical that has health and safety violations. The other interesting thing during our conversations with some of the landlords is that many are still skittish about renting, and a couple of them, because of the issues that came up during the pandemic in terms of losing out on rent and things like that.
Can you talk a little more about that specific one? You said that they're hesitant to rent out again. They have the rentals. Do you mean to a certain demographic?
I think to mostly DHS and Section 8. And our rationale is always, you're gonna get that every month.
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't see it that way, they don't see it that way.
Our landlords never miss the payment, so I don't know where they get that.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, so.
And so that's been an issue.
One of the things that people want to do in Chase is, this is something that people get a little skittish about because, yes, you get that amount, that rental assistance every month, which is great. However, they do have to maintain their eligibility. If they miss certain appointments, then
That's what the
Yes.
kicker is.
that's the kicker. That's the kicker.
Yes.
If the client doesn't miss an appointment that was DHS mandated, now the rent's gone. And the
Yeah.
landlord is like, what do I do?
Yes.
That's right.
And I get that,
And that's true, section.
I also want to kind of look at it. Sometimes we think, okay, they didn't make their appointment, but, we also have to look at reasons. We had a senior, who wound up owing $5,000, in rent. This was a senior that comes to our senior center. And when I found out it was her, I immediately knew why she didn't go to the appointment when she had the letter. And it was because she does not read or write,
Sure, I believe it.
you know? So part of that, and so we assigned someone to work with her, you know, to help her with when she gets, you know, we did some case management there and we have someone working with her, so whenever she gets, mail and things like that, that we can, take care of it for her. So just some of those things. Sometimes we don't know what else is going on, and that's why that case management piece is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. So when we asked about COVID, the COVID-related reasons, like the specific hardships, 57% of the individuals that came to us cited loss of income. And then the second highest was childcare responsibilities. Let's see. And then 59% of the money expended so far have been for rental arrears, 31% have been for security deposit, and then 10% for, 31% for security deposit, 10% for utility assistance.
Sorry, what's the total sample of individuals?
68
68.
so far, yeah, 68 households, not individuals, but households.
Right.
And that security deposit, so that was one of the great things about this specific grant, was that it did cover security deposit. Some of the other funding that comes through does not cover security deposit. It may cover first month's rent, but very few grants. You know, unless it's a general grant, but very few grants specifically cover security deposit.
To keep this program kind of going in the future, do you have like a funding strategy? Like going for like where you're pulling all of the things together?
So we are applying right now to other sources to keep this program going. We're crossing our fingers.
Right?
Yes, yeah, because we took a big hit with the United Way funding that we lost, which was for this, you know, for these types of services. And the odd thing was that United Way decided to do bridge funding. So even though we didn't get regular funding, they kept us going, you know, 75% and 50% until it's time to apply again. So right now we have a little bit of funding from United Way, because we had money to implement these programs that we had, but no money for staff. And that's what we're using the United Way funding for.
So with average monthly incomes around 2,000 a month. And many of these people with children, these are primarily very low income households, under 30% of their median income. And presumably, so that would mean what's affordable for that family would be something like $600 a month. I'm guessing that almost none of the families that you served are paying rent at $600 a month. So
Very few.
So that means all of those families, I mean, even though we were able to provide the relief, they're still significantly cost burdened in that housing.
Yes and no. So one of the things we do is that we do a budget form with them. So there are things that we do to make sure that they can remain stable. If they're over by a little bit, we start to make suggestions. All right, do you need cable? Do you need this? Do you need that? So that's one of the things that we look at. But also I would say the majority of the arrears were individuals that were already housed. They wanted to remain in those homes, and they could afford that. They could afford that rent. And then where the rent was maybe a little bit higher, so a lot of those individuals had vouchers. But one of the things that we do is that we always ensure that this individual, the household can pay their rent going forward.
Excellent, thank you.
We also asked about childcare, if they need assistance securing childcare. GED, we asked about education, whether they want to enter a GED program, whether they are interested in seeking employment, and health insurance. That's another thing we asked about.
Next.
Do you look at alternate funding streams for them, like, social security, see if they qualify for that type of income?
Yes, so the gentleman that came in this week, actually, we helped, so he's applying for SSI. We're helping him with that. So again, we looked at what public benefits may be available to them. We've also, referred some individuals to Project Anchor. And we had one individual that, came to us, that was in the navigator program, but, she was getting assistance from the buy.
Okay.
Also HEAP.
Yeah.
Make,
What's Project Anchor?
Project Anchor is through Catholic Charities, and it's a, they pay rent ongoing, so it's a voucher.
Oh,
Somewhat like Section 8, but it's administered directly through Catholic Charities.
Yes.
But they get, they have like a portion that comes in through the coordinating entry list, and another portion that they don't have to go through the coordinating entry list, and it's referred through other sources.
So most of the folks, you were sort of catching them up. And, some folks, you did end up helping them find a new place. Other than the cost of rent, because we all are agreeing that rent is rent, and yuck. Were there other particular things, just whether, I know we've talked a lot about moving expenses, storage, pet safe locations, appliances. Are any of those things that were more than just once or twice an issue for your households?
I think there might have been a couple of households that may have needed, like, the arrears and RG&E. Most of the other expenses fell under late charges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more on that? What do you mean by that?
So, with the arrears, every time that, someone is late on rent,
So they were charging that extra?
they would charge them
Okay.
an extra fee.
Okay.
Got you coming and going,
Right,
makes sense.
right, that's what,
Yes.
you can't afford it, right?
Here's another bill.
Right, okay.
We even had, and I think you know, but we tried, there were some rental properties that were charging, legal fees.
Wow.
And then in those cases, we reached out to the landlords and we mediated and said, hey,
Okay.
if they can't pay rent, they're not gonna be able to take that off and we'll pay. And so we were able to.
So they were proceeding with some sort of eviction and they were charging whatever fees they were.
Yeah, they were noting on there on those ledgers, legal fees and things like that.
You said your list of landlords is fairly shorter than you'd like. What does like your kind of relationship building strategy look like? Like how do you recruit landlords that you can build, that trust with?
So the landlord incentive program, with the housing navigator program, where Ibero is, when we can use Ibero's list of landlords that they're working with, that list is very short. That's, what do they call it? It's an incentive, it's a landlord incentive program. And when I was surprised, I thought 1,000 landlords were gonna jump on the bandwagon and rent to us, and so when I saw the list, that was very short. So us on our part, what we've been doing is that we're going through, so we also did FB, we were involved with ERAP, we've done a lot of rental assistance. So we're going through all of our charts and looking at, in our finance records, looking at landlords that we've done business with, like on an ongoing basis, to see if they'd be interested, if they have empty apartments, or housing available to some of the individuals that we're trying to house.
I think CCSI has a similar kind of
Yes, they
front
do.
door.
Yep,
Yeah.
that they're part of it, we
Okay.
use CCSI as well, yep.
Do you have any questions for us, or does anybody else have any burning thoughts?
If we don't already have it, can we get a copy of the data?
Yes, I can write up what I have so far. The program, it was gonna go through March 2020, February 2020.
I think actually we have it through June, but we are extending.
Okay,
So,
Yeah. It could be just up to date
okay.
data, it doesn't have to be complete.
yes, I have your giant demographic chart, but if you've already organized it and given me trend
I can
data,
write
love
a summary and some of them, not my spreadsheet.
yeah, that's good for me, not everybody needs to know about, Belinda and James.
Sometimes we see patterns in things, so.
Yeah, that's great.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
yeah.
Do you have a car?
A card, yes.
While you're doing that, if I can ask you to appoint you as our note taker.
Oh.
Since you were already taking notes.
Okay. Well, crap, all right, so.
It's Joey always takes
You
notes.
as chairman can appoint.
Joey always
And I'm-
takes notes, and then Pepperell, somebody has to be the official signer of the note.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, since you were already taking
Yeah.
notes.
Well, I absolutely appoint Tim to take our notes for today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No ceremony or anything?
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay, so much.
Any text.
Gotcha. So Asia does not need to give a treasury report because we've had no changes since the last month. Which I suppose is good and bad. I would really prefer it if they were using our money, but here we are.
Have a nice night.
And as Carmen mentioned, we are extending, the community place, agreement another 6 months to allow them to, to continue spending down the money. Legal aid does not need an extension, and Baden Street, they asked for 1 month, and I said, why don't we give you till September, and then they're like, actually, we'll probably be done by the end of June, so we're almost done with that, they're plugging along. And Renew, the small program did end, but I think as everybody that we needed to talk about repairs, I feel like we'll just table that as if we ever get lots of money, that will be kind of top of our list of priorities. Were there other particular things we needed to vote on, or should I move on to the discussion pieces? I can.
No, not that I'm.
Next one will be our full year. Congratulations. It's a learning experience. We're doing great. So possibly at our next, actually, I would wanna ask if we would like to take any kind of hiatus for the summer. And we don't have to vote on it today, but I would like to float the idea that at some point, should we change to meeting quarterly as the whole board, and then alternating perhaps the different committees that we haven't actually dealt with. As we get to September, which will actually be when our annual report is due to the state, the auditing committee has to meet ahead of time to say that it's done correctly, and then the board has to vote on that. I am more than happy to see all of your lovely faces every month, but I do know that it is quite a commitment. And so I just wanted to bring that up as a possibility. That doesn't mean that we couldn't have a, special meeting like we did a few months ago to brainstorm. It doesn't mean that we couldn't do voting over email. But I am conscious of the commitment that you've made and want to be as considerate, but also see your lovely faces and do the work that we do as much as we can. I don't know if anybody actually had time to look at our draft. This was one of the last things that the housing intern did before she moved back home to Jersey. She started and then we tweaked, trying to make the application for our awards still compliant with all the things we needed to be compliant with, but much easier to do. Especially if right now we're sort of aiming at 30,000, I don't want people submitting a 20-page proposal to us because they'll all be terrified and unworking it. So I made copies in case people wanted to look at them, but I wanted to have everybody's kind of thoughts on things that are good, things that are still too cumbersome. Any thoughts that you have? Things that are missing. I did chuckle because one of the things that she did not put in there was the name. She went right into, what is the project? Like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna give the money to, but it'll be great.
One thing I did notice when I read it the other day, just the 4 to 6 weeks for like review, especially when we're dealing with projects that may be unorthodox, might, necessitate a lot of like discussion. I know we've taken our time with a few of them in the past year or so. Maybe we want to give them a better expectation of like it might be a slower process as we can work through it.
I thought you were gonna say, that's too long, but I
Right.
didn't know how often would I be meeting, so.
It does say they'll be asked to participate in one more meetings.
Right, I just mean
Yeah.
more of a time frame, so they're not like, okay, we gotta, we wanna be able to take our time too.
In a lot of funding applications that I'll do too, there's a component that says kind of validate your theory of change with applicable research or data. So like, if we're doing a housing project, okay, does this particular area need this type of investment? Give us the study, give us the the qualification that shows that this is an area that needs that revitalization. So some sort of like, depending on the ask, whether it's market data, neighborhood study on the fact that this intervention is super effective, and I think that helps us to better understand and validate that this will be an effective intervention. Some sort of research that's up there, scope.
That is a very.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it because I always like to think of examples. On the one hand, here we are wanting to be super cutting edge, thinking outside the box, but also we did not fund the one proposal where they were not able to show how this thing we're gonna do impact housing displacement. It was a great idea, but they couldn't make that connection.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree that we should make that clear that we need some kind of something that says this is why you think it's a great idea.
I have a question. So I don't see anything here that outright prohibits it, but I'm curious. I know we always look at it from the perspective of a program reaching out to a landlord. Would it be prohibited at all for an actual, let's say, a proposal to come from an actual property owner to partner with nonprofits? You know, like let's say the backwards, because a lot of times we hear that they have a hard time finding landlords. One of them, the landlord was the one applying, and they were saying, I'm going to work with XYZ agencies and rent to them. So it kind of puts the ball in the landlord's court to find an agency rather than the agency finding the landlord. Is there anything that prohibits it with this?
I don't necessarily think there's anything prohibiting it. When we received our gigantic set of ARPA proposals, we had one entity that wanted rental assistance for their own tenants. And I actually think that the group was somewhat divided.
Correct. I think that one, though, they were for their own tenants and they were going to be managing their own tenants. I'm referring to, let's say, if I own 100 properties and we're saying as part of this, you're going to find nonprofit agencies who are going to provide services. That's part of your application. Who are you partnering with? Like, let's say, we're funding your project on condition of a list of agencies you're gonna work with, and you're telling us what services are they providing them. So that puts the onus on that property owner. They're gonna go search for agencies that'll assist them, rather than, let's say, a community place trying to find the person. Like, you know, it's kind of just a reverse.
So like if they were
What is the group
for Providence, like,
Correct.
like if they said we wanna work with Providence, so every time we got referrals, we would look at their properties
Correct.
because he
Correct.
was partnering.
Yeah, so that'd be a great example. Like, let's say if Providence Housing was the one who has the properties and they were finding another agencies or multiple agencies in the community to provide some sort of assistance, let's say case management assistance or other sorts of assistance. But we're funding their project in the sense of them getting the rent or them getting rental assistance, but it's their referrals are coming from whatever agency they're partnering with, and that's part of their application.
What do they,
I don't think it would be prohibited.
Yeah.
Why would we prohibit it?
Well, because usually we don't see anything, because looks like it's kind of like written in a way like it's tailored towards like a program. Like we go to look at it like this.
I think the landlords wouldn't though apply for that because they don't want to get into that business. I think that's really the reason why landlords don't do it.
Yeah, correct.
Our landlords hate to hear anything that has to do with the word C in case management. Because they feel like that means
That the person is gonna be
correct, bad tenant. They hear case management equals bad tenant.
right?
So
doesn't, which doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense,
But that's what
actually,
they
but that's what they think.
But you're right, though, if there were, well, let's just call them mission-based landlords, they don't necessarily have to be Providence Housing,
Yeah.
but somebody
Right, no,
wants to do
I
that.
meant for like,
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
because
I don't think we
won't
would.
prohibit it.
yeah,
It would be
prohibited.
prohibited. I don't think it would prohibit
My question would be, what's the advantage of a landlord applying versus a landlord utilizing one of the, programs that already incentivizes the landlord?
Because it puts the ball in the landlords to search for the organization rather than the organization searching for landlords. So that actual applicant themselves will be reaching out and saying, hey, I have funding, I need you to partner with me, rather
I
than.
do think it would be more we would scrutinize it
Yeah.
more.
Correct.
We would definitely scrutinize it more if a landlord came to us and said, hey, give us rent money and I'll go find a case manager. We'd be like, will you really?
That's true. That's every
Unless it's
application.
like a Providence Housing or
Yeah.
Catholic Family Charities, because they're in the business of doing that, but
Right.
it was like, what's a private, for-profit landlord, because I don't really know it.
We have tons of like Buckingham properties.
Yeah, like if
We
you
have
have
tons of
Lansman has some business too
massive-
that is,
Yeah,
they've gotten into
they have.
so Lansman isn't even
They have
actually a
like,
good,
they have
because they've gotten into
tax
this,
credit
yeah, and they have affordable land
properties
case
and,
managers on site.
I think just we're trying to like, we wanna be open and present for an
Yeah.
idea that we wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah.
I think like as an example, one of those firms, should they decide to wanna do
Right.
something mission driven, now they can, you know, if you're trying to work with a landlord, they have to buy into something, whereas if they already bought into it, they can almost, whatever program it is, make it mandatory. Like, yeah, you can rent your, I partner with these people, and if you're gonna rent in my unit, I wanna make sure that you're meeting with them at a certain level to make sure that.
I actually think we would approve the proposal. I think it's easier to get, for a landlord to walk through, easier than the case managers can come through, because we already feel like, how are you gonna find the housing, just like we're talking about, like, how are you gonna find additional funding to fund more, rapid rehousing programs, when we know there's no rapid rehousing funding out there anymore, because the federal government isn't really gonna, first of all, the federal government stopped funding rapid rehousing a very long time ago. The only reason why there was so much, well, you guys all know this, the only reason why there was so much money for rapid rehousing was because of ARPA. If COVID had not happened, there would have not been rapid rehousing. All the money was for homeless folks who have been homeless chronically.
Right.
Chronically meaning over a year.
Right.
So not even for someone who was just homeless, like you could be on the street and have only been on the street for, you know, a couple of nights. The money wasn't there for you. The money was for chronically homeless. So even then, the federal government under Democratic Congress and Democratic president was not funding rapid rehousing. So that's not even a Republican thing. There just wasn't federal dollars for rapid rehousing anymore. That was like,
Rapid rehousing or eviction prevention.
it was called rapid rehousing before they started calling it eviction prevention. It used to be called rapid rehousing, because, I don't know, you probably remember this. The housing council used to do rapid rehousing.
They're heading home, right?
Yeah.
Heading home.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah.
So it was to actually help people stay in place so they wouldn't end up being evicted. So but they used to call it rapid rehousing. So I still call it rapid rehousing, because I've been in housing for a long time.
And that's right,
So,
it's still,
yes.
we're Memorial
Yes,
Day.
yes, exactly. And it is to me too. I still call it rapid. Yes. So, so now we call it eviction prevention, but yeah, we know it used to be rapid rehousing programs. So, which is, rapid rehousing used to be a couple things. You could get security deposits, you can actually get money to pay your back rent, a little money. It wasn't like the money that people were getting during COVID, but like there was money in rapid rehousing, and those programs were shut down. So like maybe in the early 2000s, late 2000s. And then all the money went to, in the 2010s, to homelessness. And then sometimes in the 2020s, it went from homelessness to chronically homelessness. And it did not change until COVID happened.
So what I'm hearing is that if it were a solid application, maybe for repairs, maybe for expedited service, you know, allowing the tenants to move in, some sort of reason that they could partner, then the answer is no, there's no reason that a for-profit housing provider couldn't apply for our funding.
I guess in that regard then, how would they, I feel like if I were a landlord trying to fill out that application, a lot of the questions would seem foreign to me. Like how do I answer this from my standpoint?
That is true.
Yeah.
The reason why I brought it up is because everyone says, well, we can't find landlords. Well, if we're under the assumption that there are no landlords, well, then why are they even applying for this funding if they're not going to find a landlord? We have to be under the assumption that there are landlords, or else there's no purpose of even funding any of these programs.
Yeah, and then we've done housing studies, and the housing studies say we have enough housing. So it's a weird dilemma we are in as a city, because the housing study said we do have enough housing. And at the price points of the people who actually can afford it, not for the people who are under 30%, because no, not at that price point, but for folks who have moderate income, there is housing. There should be enough affordable housing to go around. That probably doesn't account for, because the housing study was done before, the housing market, bubble.
Well, but the new one is kind
Oh,
of.
the new one is saying the same thing, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I guess we maybe it's how we are, maybe it's a marketing
Correct,
issue. It could be that. I mean, we don't really know. The housing study says we have the housing. We don't understand why we don't have the housing. If the housing studies keep coming back saying we have the housing.
And I would say that the Housing Quality Task Force came up with a lot of those same questions, and it seems like there's like 5 or 6 different reasons, and everybody thinks that it's that reason that's the big reason, and none of them are a significant enough thing, right? Well, it's all the out-of-town investors, it's the short-term rental folks, it's the ones that are in such disrepair that nobody should be living in there. I mean, all of those things are true, I would say, but it's not one reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I just about ran and tripped the one landlord in the hallway when he made some post about how he's been holding his apartment vacant and he's sad about it. But it's because he can't find anybody who has good enough credit. And, he's reviewed like 4 or 5 dozen applicants and none of them have it. So he has to leave this vacant unit, and I was very
It's times whatever he charged for
Times whatever he
background,
charged,
right? Yeah,
So that's why he can leave it vacant. Because
That's
they
right.
put money in the application.
that is right.
But, which I think is a crime.
I'm sorry that he was sad.
I'm sorry that he was
Really,
sad.
it's heartbreaking.
But that's true for us too, because we have higher than normal vacancy rates. We're affordable housing, so, and we've had a lot. Right, so, in our Section 8 program, higher than normal, rates is there too. So that's a different issue though, because that means we also have to find landlords who are willing to accept the voucher. But I'm just saying, right, we're not fully utilizing public housing. And we only have 2,300 units of public housing. So I do think that sometimes it's an issue. So I'm gonna be off the record.
Well, and we are recording, but I really don't want to.
You're not gonna say it.
Tell me later.
Yeah.
Wait for the meeting to adjourn. That's it.
So moving back to education, maybe, if there are ways that we could make it even more, standard, easy to use, I would love help with that. But we do walk the line between just tell us some stuff versus we really want to be able to differentiate, because I don't want 20 applications from people like, oh, well, this was so easy, I could, apply for it on lunch hour.
I mean, I really like this table method. I mean, I know it's pretty simple, but just the idea that there's a template, and I think that could even be carried over to the very specific verified outcomes, right? Like, is there specific ones that we're looking for these organizations to say these are our outcomes or like themes? And I say that only because I think as an organization, we would want there to be continued practices each year that we can track, right? So the outcomes of their organization and then the outcomes and anticipated methods of their program, right? Is there like a specific or at least some examples of KPIs that we could ask for from these organizations, but then the year after we can continue to track those same KPIs, right? So I think that could be something that we could provide a template for.
Yeah, and then also I would add that maybe suggestions of programs that were funded in the past. So people have a framework of what is a program that actually supports.
I thought I had, no, I think I was, we had some
Remember
examples.
we were talking about
Yes.
priorities? Having a list of,
Right.
the priorities.
I do think that is helpful to give people, we don't wanna make it so narrow, so we might not even just include the ones we funded, but maybe other things that, maybe other funded housing programs that we find other places, because we don't wanna make it so we don't wanna put people in a box, right? Think, oh, they're just gonna fund this.
Right.
But just to give people some ideas about what is possible. But I think if we say, stuff like that Habitat's program and Renew's program and, ask stuff about, like a lead study or something, even though we didn't do anything, but somebody else funded a lead study. If you can say that that's gonna fix housing in some way or another, maybe it is. Other things that are outside the box that maybe we haven't funded in the past, but maybe to get people thinking about what is possibly something that could be funded that could actually promote better housing or housing for folks in the city. I think, and that is not something you have to give in the proposal, it can just be on the website.
Right, exactly.
Right,
And you can go to the website if you want examples of, other funding.
I think I like adding something like that, the evaluation criteria. To me, what's simple is a point system.
well, we have a point system,
Correct.
I just haven't put it on.
Correct. But if you add something that says priority to these specific things. Let's say the priority was a landlord who has nonprofits, priority to them. And there's like a points, you know what I'm saying? So you're already aware, how many points do I think I can get? Before even going in and filling this out, do I think I can even get enough points to see what we're looking at, right?
Do you wanna maybe this week send me an example, like what you're thinking, like an example, and you as well as Jackie?
Yes.
And then I work better when I can see stuff, plus if it's great, I can just insert it.
Correct, yeah.
And now you all heard it, cause it's on the record. It was their brilliant idea.
That's so funny.
And then my thought was that we would just have this kind of be rolling. I mean, again, right, at the moment, we don't have a whole lot of money to be rolling with. But we continue to, to advocate for those things. And, certainly when you're, out and about or lobbying for other things, definitely lobby for this, because, we're here, we're doing things.
That was one thing I wanted to ask that I did not send for the agenda, but it's been a while since I last brought it up, but is there kind of, has there been more talks about where future funding is gonna potentially come from with the city?
Yeah.
Or is it just static?
There have been a variety of conversations.
Is this something we should have put into the comment period for the comp plan?
So the comp plan is already kind of oversubscribed.
Okay.
So, the simplest answer to that is if they fund us, then somebody else is losing money. And most of the programs that we fund are ongoing programs.
Okay.
And so, Latasha's Latasha handles 2 programs, I handle 3 programs. So if we then take $50,000 or $100,000, we're losing 50 each, right? So, it's a great idea, but in itself, federal funding, I think, has never been where we want this to go.
There's a lot more strings that come along with federal funding. And ideally, what we wanted these dollars to be, whatever that source is, it'd be a lot more flexible. And maybe do some of those things to fill gaps where these regular programs that are funded through the federal source will not be able to accommodate.
So are we looking to write grants?
I mean, that could be a possibility, but one of the things that we're very interested in is what can be an ongoing resource, reoccurring resource that we could receive for this purpose.
So there's some legislation at the state level that would increase, let me see if I have it right, the amount of sales tax that somebody pays when they sell a property. And it could always use more advocacy. And it probably, won't get voted on this time, but it may come back again. And the representative who put it out there was so that statewide municipalities of a certain size would be allowed to take, it's going from, $4 per thousand to $5 per thousand, could then have that money specifically for housing trust funds across the state. Which sounds wonderful, but it has to pass.
Did you send that to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something we could, advocate for at the, automatically, that's something that we could add to our policy agenda.
Yeah, those things would be great. I mean, obviously, where we can, we will talk to different foundations. I mean, I think that what we're doing is wonderful, but also, right, I mean, Community Place has lost a whole bunch of money because United Way's lost a bunch of money. I can't imagine that lots of foundations aren't also looking at all of these, you know, agencies out in the world that are desperately trying to find money for their staff. I do not wish to have a bake sale or a golf.
That was way more appropriate than what I was thinking. I was like, last time I was at City Hall, they were talking about this new initiative, make it easier to start dispensaries. Maybe we could do that.
So I have been advocating
Right off the top,
for the cannabis sales tax revenue. You know, you definitely have been in many meetings where I'm like, wow, you know, cannabis sales tax revenue would be great. I'm still hopeful, but I don't get to make that decision. I just continue to advocate. So when you're out and about, you can continue to advocate, you know, they're really great.
Would that be like a city council thing? Would that be state? Who is the person to advocate to for that?
I don't actually know where it is.
I think that's a state.
You know?
The state's Office of Cannabis Management. Jeremy Curry heads that up.
Yeah.
So that would be a person from county.
Right, so I think it is also at the county level. Because I think it all comes to the county and then they have to determine what comes to the city.
Is there anything else you had? Or?
I had meant to finalize the committees and have us vote on them, but I didn't print it out, so no. Then the only other thing is to decide whether we would like to meet in August, in July and August, or July or August.
I already know I'm gonna be going to home month of August, so.
What are you, European?
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. I'm on a road trip. I'm excited.
You're going to Europe. Okay, ma'am. We're on a road trip.
This is all the vacations I haven't taken the last 6 years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited about that.
I'm going to London next week.
Oh,
Well.
I'm not gonna be for a month though.
Receive Bay.
I am.
We should be open in meeting in July. I feel like we just celebrated a year together, and now you're saying we need time apart.
Don't keep up I prefer long distance.
I mean, I'm a part of other boards, like we keep it open.
Why don't we meet in July and skip August?
Yes.
Give ourselves a summer break.
There we go. Could maybe look at an outdoor location for next meeting if that's possible.
Yes, we definitely could do that.
As long as the.
You're here.
Take it, maybe you have some reservation about that?
No. Unless you're gonna be screaming from the bees.
I was
Just
also
like my
thinking about the option of moving the Monday meetings to like a library, so that parking is free for those of you who are traveling. I know it's less convenient for city staff, but I would love to know whether that would make it easier for those of you who are traveling, to get to the Monday lunchtime meetings. And you could just let me know, email or what have you.
I'm still looking into it for us at the housing authority too. I just, slept in.
There's been a lot going on. So yes, the housing authority might also be, because it's right down the road and they do the big parking lot, so
But
that's
it's-
also a possibility.
Are all the other meetings on Mondays? Because Mondays would probably be harder than.
So, right, we alternate Monday lunch and Tuesday after 5. I didn't think Tuesday after 5 was terrible for folks because you can park
Yeah,
there and.
but the Monday might be a little harder for,
So maybe I will look at, libraries.
but you guys can meet, we can meet at my office though, if you don't mind meeting at 495. We have parking in the back of the building. It's a big parking lot. Yeah,
Calls. Okay.
So you're free to meet there. I think our conference room can hold, oh, no, you can't meet there. It's the public part. We would have to meet in the large open space and the staff would be walking around. I don't know if you guys would mind that.
Oh, yeah.
There would not be an option to do it online either.
Okay.
So that is the issue. My office isn't set up for that. We could, the Tom McHugh at 675 is.
Right.
My office is not. We don't have the same capability. So I digress.
That's right, that's what this meeting is for, right?
If we did it Fridays at noon though, we're closed. The Section 8 office is closed.
The big issue is the parking piece.
Yeah, because we closed, they're closed Friday.
Well, this was just because I know for lots of folks who are coming here at a lunchtime, they have to leave their office, get to their vehicle, get here, find parking, get into the building. So if there was a location like a library that had an easy free parking lot and then just get in the building, it might just be simpler. But it also does need to be a public location where we can then stream our meetings.
Yeah, so that would be an issue if we don't do it at I can't do it in my office, just to stream it.
Plus, we have the 2 folks who are not here. Well, Asia's here, but
Libraries are great. I mean, honestly, I've held many meetings at libraries. They're just open access, easy to find, parking.
well, I guess what I would ask is for each of you kind of separately, City Hall staff as well as not City Hall staff, let me know whether this would be a horrible idea or a mint idea, or actually this would make your life a lot easier, and then we'll figure it out. But for now, we will assume that the July meeting will be here on that Monday. Or an outdoor location.
Well, how will it be public and you stream it at an outdoor location?
What about rec centers? Is there an opportunity to go to rec center?
Could be, if they have a large enough space, because they all do have Wi-Fi. Screen won't be so big, but, yeah. All right,
Can I entertain a motion to get us out of here?
Motion.
Motion by Melissa, second. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, guys.
Yeah, if you just want to send